We're doing a Q&A, right?
We'll do that.
Let me ask, Bryce, what got you started on this project? Why did you want to make film about dads?
Oh my gosh. Well, I've obviously been very privileged in my life to have not only a great father, but a remarkable grandfather, and now my brother is an incredible father, and my husband is an incredible father, and I just wanted to celebrate that, you know, and I've thought about that for a while, and then about a year ago, there's this incredible place that it's called I'm going to pronounce this wrong, the Promundo Institute in Brazil. And they do a lot of remarkable work around gender stereotypes, masculinity, toxic masculinity, and specifically around the stigma of fathers caregiving. And the folks who paid for this movie, Unilever, had a partnership with this institute, and so I met with them about a year ago. They wanted to do a project about fatherhood, and then I literally pitched this in the room. But I didn't know my brother was going to have a kid. The whole time I was like, we need an expecting father. Like, you got to get someone before it happens, because also, you know, there's no rite of passage for men. Like, we get baby showers and stuff like that as women, and you know, that's great, and please do celebrate us, because it's really hard to give birth. But there's no rite of passage for men, and they have just as much a responsibility as the women, and they want to be just as much as involved as the women. Maybe not everybody, but honestly, I think the narrative that we've been taught about men and how they feel about fathering is completely incorrect, especially now. Totally incorrect. And actually the Promundo Institute has done a lot of research around that. So I started this about a year ago with the intention of filming fathers around the world. And then also just everything that I like to watch in a theater. Like, I don't really go to the theater unless it's a comedy. That's just the truth. I just don't. And because I want to laugh with people, you know, and so that's how I thought of the comedians. And so that's a very long answer.
So you really embarked in earnest on it a year ago, but you had interviewed your grandfather before. What was that for?
Yeah, so I've been kind of secretly directing for the last 15 years or so, just trying to, just every year, just trying to learn and grow, and it's been incredibly exciting and wonderful. And one of the projects that I got to do was a piece for Vanity Fair, and Justin Wilkes, who's our extraordinary producer on this, he actually produced that, so I've worked with him several times, and it was a piece for Vanity Fair about the 1960s. And so I invited my granddad, and I had thought about and started working on kind of getting his stories, getting, you know, wanting to get his voice on tape, like just you know, it's my grandfather. And so we had that footage, and then when the whole thing happened with my brother, I was like, my dad the whole time was like, please do not put us in this movie, Bryce. Like, just don't do that. And
what does he know about movie making?
Nothing. I mean, it's I understood. I mean, I understand, but I didn't listen. And then when my brother was gonna have a baby, I was like, okay, well, that decision was made just for us. And so I went back and looked at my grandfather's interview, and you know, that was incredible. It's actually our editor, Andrew Morelli, who put that together and edited it, and I didn't even know what he was gonna pull. I didn't even remember the interview very much. It was in 2013. And when I saw it the first time, you know.
When you had the opportunity to interview your own father, did it give you a chance to ask him a question that you might not have been able to ask before, thought to ask before?
Well, I think we talk a lot in our family. So it's getting to have these interviews with my family members. It was really fun because it was one-on-one time. Like, for instance, I'm one of 4 kids, as you saw. And so, like, I like one-on-one time with my dad. I'm like, yay, it's just me, you know. And so I enjoyed it for that reason. But there was a lot that we had talked about up until that point. I mean, my dad has said many times that he feels that he was the recipient of his father's genius. And my grandfather was an awesome actor, an even better teacher, and he really passed it on to my dad, but way more than that. As you saw, he was just like a next level father. So, yeah, sorry. So, it's great to get to
Let me take a couple of questions from the audience. You raise your hand, I'll call on you, repeat the question right here.
First of all, thank you very much for I lost my father 30 years ago. But how did you come across the characters that you did?
Oh my gosh.
So the question is how you found maybe the non-famous characters in the film.
Yeah, a lot of different ways. This institute in Brazil was obviously, they were incredibly helpful. An associate producer, Dave, where are you? Dave, hi Dave. Dave found Sweetie, who we are madly, deeply in love with. And early on in the process, like literally day one, we knew that we had about a year to get this done, and documentaries, you kind of plan to hunker down for, you know, several years because you want to capture gold, you don't want it to be artificial, you know? And so I thought to myself, you know, we're not going to want to be going into all of these people's homes for a very long time extensively, because that's just going to be weird. But what if we reach out to the daddy vlogger community? And they've been filming their kids non-stop in some cases, you know, ever since, like, before smartphones, but, you know, since 2007. There's a lot of footage, like a lot. And they figured out what works, what's the best stuff. They've edited it together. And so we really, diving into those communities and meeting those individuals was a big turning point, because we were able to get all this footage, and it was like, oh my gosh, all this stuff that we didn't shoot at all. So that's very cool.
All right, who's got another question? See, hand up over there. Stand up so we can hear you.
Yeah, apologies if I'm a bit nervous. My father passed away back in 2017, and he was like the greatest person. I'm just wondering, in the movie, in the documentary, you say a lot of things. You ask a lot of people about what a dad is. So how would you describe what a dad is?
The question is, how would you describe what a dad is after you ask so many other people?
That's beautiful. Thank you for asking me that. I would say, for me, it's very simple. A father is a caregiver. He's a caregiver. That's what a father is. A man, maybe something different, but a father is a caregiver.
One more question. There's a woman have a question. Yeah. Okay, let's get up.
A lot of the film resonates with mothers as well, obviously. What do you think is the difference between a mother and a father?
What do you think is the difference between a mother and a father?
No, that's a great question, and I think a lot of this for me was trying to figure out, like, okay, what is not only a dad's role, but what do dads think their role is? And I think that's perhaps the one distinction between fathers and mothers, and it has to do with the culture around us and how we're raised and whatnot, and kind of the expectations on women when it comes to caregiving. I really want to answer your question. What is the fundamental difference between mothers and fathers? There's too much of a difference. It seems like there's more of a difference than there is. And that's what's not fair about it. And specifically talking about kids, you know, being with their fathers right after the children are born. I mean, I as a mom, I've got about too is, like, I did not feel competent. I'm the oldest of 4. I was always the person who's like, oh, I'm going to take care of all the little cousins, all that kind of stuff. And when I had my son at 25, I did not know what to do. Guess who did know what to do? My husband. He's not someone who's raised kids. He's not someone who ever took an interest in that, but he instinctually knew how to connect with this baby and care for this baby. And I think it's society that undermines that again and again and again, and makes some fathers lose confidence and feel like they aren't competent. And the best thing for the kid is to rely on the mother and trust the mother. And that's actually not the best thing for the kid. I mean, research has proven this again and again and again. So, yeah. Good question. Amazing audience, I just want to say that.
We have to wrap it up here. I want to remind you, you can vote for the film at tiff.net/vote. I hope you get to see a lot more films this week. I want to thank you for coming.